What up, everybody? We are live. It's your buddy Brian, and it's your boy Matt Butch Cleaver Park.
Oh,
Go
what's up,
back
dude?
Butch Cleaver right now, bitches. Yeah, that's a great way to get people to back your book is by insulting everybody by calling them bitches. Anyway, everybody, welcome to Horror Movie Club, the club where we watch horror movies and talk about them. Every week, I post a link to a horror film that we're going to watch, and it's always a movie that's not behind a paywall. It's always something that's on Tubi, where you can watch it with commercials but uncensored, or YouTube or something like that. And that way you can click on the link that's always in the description and watch the movie ahead of the show to discuss it with us in the chat. Or, if you watch this stream and you decide that you like what you see with this movie and you like what you hear and you're thinking like, oh, that would be badass, then, you can click on it and watch it afterwards. It's all good. We're here to be of assistance and hopefully also maybe give it a little attention to some of the horror films that may have flown under your radar. Now, speaking of horror movies, Matt, did you see anything this week that's worthy of mention?
This week, the only thing I watched was this movie. Actually,
Oh,
I
okay.
I just finished watching it right now too, so I've been watching
Oh,
it over the
wow.
day. Yeah, I've been breaking it up, doing a bunch of stuff, and yeah, man, just been real busy at work and stuff. So
I hear you. I
it
hear you.
was it was it was nice though, getting a break and watching some fun stuff.
Well, hopefully you found it fun.
Yeah.
Um, I absolutely love this movie, but we'll get to that in a sec. This week I saw Censor finally. Censor
Mm.
is a new British horror movie that is set during the Video Nasties period.
Mm.
For those of you that don't know, the Video Nasties, I always love saying that, Video Nasties. The Video Nasty period was a bit of a moral panic that emerged in England in the 80s.
That's right.
We had a lot of censorship here in the United States that was coming from the right, mainly an attempt to censor pornography. Because God forbid people should, watch it and get boners or wetties or whatever. God forbid people should get sexually excited, right? Um, by looking at people's pictures of people boinking like bonobos. But in England, the moral panic was over violence, specifically violent movies, and specifically violent horror movies. Um, there are a lot of books right now. There are a lot of documentaries. Like, this is a period that's always fascinated me, and it's starting to get a lot of attention for its historical significance. Because so many of these films that were banned, and I mean like outright banned, I'm talking like cops were literally walking into video stores and arresting the owners and confiscating videos, taking them off the shelves. The House of Lords got involved. It went
There's a lot of them, a
all,
lot of mainstream stuff, like just regular R-rated movies and some PG-13 movies. I've heard when they
yeah.
get in.
I mean, some of these movies are pretty sleazy and pretty trashy. I'm not gonna lie. Zombie Holocaust, for instance,
Oh yeah, 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 for sure.
right? Which you have seen, I'm assuming,
No, I haven't seen
or
the
you
whole
just heard
thing.
of it.
I've seen
Okay,
parts of it.
okay, definitely check that out if you get a chance to, because it answers a question that has haunted mankind for millennia. And it's a question that always had me lying in bed in the wee hours of the morning staring up at the ceiling. And that question is, what would an outboard motor do to a human head? It's it's one of the nastiest money shots I've ever seen. It's metal as fuck. Uh, Yeah, and like every Italian cannibal movie, of course, it begins in New York. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. Censor is about a censor, one of the people, one of the moral busybodies who basically would sit and watch this filth and make suggestions for cuts, and then of course ban certain films just outright. And this is about a woman who starts to watches a particular horror film that's submitted by a director that she, or producer, I'm sorry, whose films are censored quite frequently. And although it's a producer that submits the film, but it's by a director that he hires frequently, whose films are always being censored. And so he's just like, here you go. And it's not clear if the movie is cursed or if the heroine is losing her mind, but she starts to see elements of her own life and her own past, which she's kept suppressed in the horror film that she's watching. And things kind of spiral out of control from there. I really enjoyed it. I think it's definitely worth a look. You could probably watch it on streaming right now. A definite recommend, and gives you an idea of what was going on behind the scenes during the video nasties craze. But yeah, they were banning a lot of movies. A Driller Killer was one of the big ones, which just got installed in the Museum of Modern Art's permanent collection.
Damn.
Yeah.
Check that one out.
Oh yeah. It's by it's Abel Ferrara's first movie, the guy who did Miss 45 is probably his best movie. China Girl, King of New York, Body Snatchers. It was like one of the Body Snatchers remakes, which was Bad Lieutenant.
Oh, Patel?
Yeah. Yes, which was also a very controversial movie that I think was banned in England. But there are movies that are like just now becoming unbanned there.
Crazy.
Yeah. But like I always say, I am fascinated by the video nasties era because I envy horror fans from the UK, because it's like watching that shit on video as a kid. We felt like we were doing something naughty and subversive.
Oh,
but these cats were actually literally breaking the law. How awesome is that? How awesome is that? I mean, you get the video in like a brown paper bag, under the counter.
It's like drugs.
Yeah.
It's exactly like bootlegging.
That's exactly what it was. Like literally, because it'd be like bootleg copies. Sometimes it might be like a 4th generation VHS rip of like a Japanese laser disc or some shit.
Oh shit, we got Sugar Chris and Charles in the chat.
Sugar Chris, Charles. Oh, good to see you, brother, man. You figured out the chat, huh? Yeah, Charles is an old friend of mine, a horror connoisseur, like myself. Back in the day, we'd be hanging out in a bar and we'd start talking horror movies, and our girlfriends would just look at each other and just go, they have no idea what we were talking about. Anyway, Charles, good to see you. Sugar Chris, good to see you. Everybody in the chat, good to see you. Thank you for being here. We do appreciate it. Smash the subscribe button, smash the like button. And there are also links to our books below. And go back to Butch Cleaver, of course. And Six Gun Gorilla, if you feel like it.
Cemetery.
Without crosses.
There we go.
Yeah. Isn't that a great title?
Oh, it's metal as fuck. It's one of the spaghetti westerns, right?
Yep. Well, that's why I can say it's a great title. It's because I didn't come up with it.
That's badass.
Because all the titles to the different chapters of Six Gun Gorilla are all named after Italian westerns, and this is a particular one that's named after one that was written by Dario Argento.
that's pretty metal. And
there is a cemetery without crosses in the book, and when you see it, so it
Gangster.
it kind of fit. When you see what that is, it's gonna fuck you up. Anyway, Blood on Satan's Claw, brother. What did you think?
Well, it was weird. I don't know if you timed it up with. I don't know if you knew. Like I was reading the Solomon Kane, by Robert E. Howard, but that movie just fucking goes right in there. And I just read like the first 2 chapters of it because I'm reading that and I'm reading Sunsworn by Red Gaze right now as far as the novels go.
Yeah.
And then I'm reading comics and working on mine and shit. And that one just goes right in there. And I was just thinking like, damn, there's like a whole genre of like Salem witch trials and then just witch hunter, or I guess you could put them together, but has to be like 1700s or 1600s, And there's always like Puritans and Quakers and it just went right in there. And the movie it's pretty brutal, man. It's scary and again, there's just parts in there where like my brain like would upload, like it would upgrade certain things or level up certain things in the story and in the visuals. You know what I mean? Like, they just had a couple more, like maybe like back then, I don't know how much more, like a couple thousand for this part, and but it was scary. It was good. What up, Sugar Chris? What am I drinking? I'm drinking Jack Daniel's rye in a bullet bourbon cup. Sacrilege. So
it's about the booze, not the glass.
Yeah, right. Well,
not
the
the,
they
not
used
the
to go
container.
off topic. They used to go like they got so big now. I think because Cecil's drinking so much of it that there's no more single batch label on the bullet bourbon. You know what I mean? That was at least God where I'm at. So God, I'm like, fuck, dude.
Cecil.
Yeah, it was, and it's the rye. The rye's good. I was drinking that all last year, like once a day, like during the pandemic.
Right.
Pools are dropping. I was boom, 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 boom. Still, I haven't got nothing. And
see, booze will kill whatever ails you. If the Rona decides to try to enter your body, it's gonna run into that shit and go fuck it and leave.
Yeah. And then I was buying that rye from Bullet, and it was good. It was heavier than the other one, smoother at the same time. And then I go in to buy one. I'm at Target just for fun, and there's no single batch on there. And I see the new Jack Daniel's rye, and it's like $16, dude. So I'm like, oh, I'll buy one of those and give it a shot. It can't be, Jack Daniel's is, but it's not bad. It's not Bullet, but anyways, that's what I'm drinking, sugar.
I like rye too. I like rye. I like whiskey. I like bourbon. I like scotch. And I'm
drinking some coffee. I'm drinking an Irish sweet cream cold brew with caramel and an extra shot of espresso.
Damn! So you're getting caffeinated and drunk at the same time.
Yep.
Man!
Like, wow.
Yeah, man. So it's Blood on Satan's Claw is a favorite of mine. I first saw it on TV when I was like a really little kid. This is back in the days when on Friday and Saturday nights I had really permissive parents. They would let me stay up all night. I'd have the lights out. I'd be burning candles. I'd be sitting in front of the TV. The way that little kids do. They throw a pillow down and they're like this.
Oh, yeah. I used to lay in front of there all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
And I saw this, and the next day, I wasn't sure if I'd actually seen it. I thought maybe I dreamt it.
Oh, yeah, I hear you. Yeah, it's crazy.
it was, and that's one of the things I loved about horror movies was that would happen sometimes.
Yeah.
Where you'd think like, that was so strange. I've never seen anything like that. And, there were, like you said, like this is kind of in the genre of like the witch hunter movies that were coming out at the time.
Yeah.
The main one was, of course, Matthew Hopkins' Witchfinder General by Matt Reeves. Or is it, no, I'm sorry. Matt Reeves is the new guy that's doing the Batman movie. No, it's Michael Reeves.
And this is with the Vincent Price, right?
Yes.
I still got to watch that one, man.
Classic. And I can say Vincent Price's best performance. I'm not the only person who thinks that. And the reason why he's so good in that is because, I love Vincent Price. I really don't mean it as a diss when I say he was a hammy actor. And that's one of the things that, you kind of like about him.
Yeah. It's certain styles, the actors have the ham,
Right. But Michael Reeves was trying to get him to tone it down, right? He was just like, It's like, homeboy, like you're on 11. Bring it down a few notches. Bring it down, because he wanted this to be a more sort of a realistic film, because the horror is that this shit actually happened,
Right.
and that a fiend like Matthew Hopkins was a very real person, and was going around. And this is the very ass end of the witch craze, right? Which was
Right.
during the time of Oliver Cromwell.
Like Metallica, Kill 'Em All, basically. Era.
Yeah. And, this Blood on Satan's Claw takes place after the Civil War ended. And, the king was ousted, the royalty were ousted, and Cromwell moved in to take their place and turned out to be just as big of a prick.
Yeah, he was, it's funny you say that, because we're always talking about Lord Ham himself, Anthony Hopkins. That dude looked like it could be Anthony Hopkins' brother, but he wasn't. I mean, I don't know. He wasn't playing it too hammy. And I was just thinking, like, if they remade this now, Anthony Hopkins would play that, like.
Oh, to the hilt.
He kind of looks like him a little bit, But I think Anthony would be even more hammier than him. You know what I mean? Like,
it's
this
possible.
Guy.
Yeah, plays it out.
This guy plays it pretty straight through the whole movie, And
Patrick
he's just
Weingart?
like, he's all about, he's just like all about science or fact. You know what I mean? Like, no, we've eradicated this witchcraft. It doesn't exist anymore.
Right? It's bullshit.
Like, listen, big city boy. This isn't like the doctor. This isn't how it is out here. It might be a little different. Let me show you this book. Puts the book now for him. And he's like,
The grimoire. Actually, it's not a grimoire. It's a book. Grimoire would be a book of spells. It's a book about witchcraft. You know what I mean? Like the witch's hammer.
Yeah.
But yeah, Matthew Hopkins was, like I said, at the very ass end of the witch craze, and he eventually the tide turned against the belief in witches and witchcraft. There's one fellow in particular who was really ballsy, who came out and spoke out against it and wrote a book about it. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but it had a powerful effect, and eventually Matthew Hopkins was getting run out of town. The last time anybody saw him, he was tarred and feathered and run out of town.
Yeah, he had some like he did like the craziest shit. I remember watching a documentary on him like about a year ago. Yeah, that guy was crazy, motherfucker.
Son of a bitch, man.
Yeah,
I mean, just like psychopath without a doubt. It was all about the Benjamins. He didn't believe in witchcraft or witches or any that shit.
Yeah.
But it's encouraging to know that eventually he came into a town, instead of people shaking in their boots, they were like, "Get the fuck out of here!
Fuck this motherfucker.
We're not taking this shit anymore.
We're gonna tarf you up, motherfucker."
Yup. I mean,
I got your tarf right here, motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly. He got off easy as far as I'm concerned. But this takes place, of course, after that period. And the judge, played by Patrick Weingart, who's fantastic, as you mentioned, played straight. That's why a movie like this is often mistaken for a Hammer movie. Yeah. Because what Hammer was all about was the fact that you had these often ludicrous premises, ludicrous plots, but the actors were playing it with balls out sincerity, which is more fun.
Yeah.
Right? And some people don't get that. Like, 80s horror at a certain point, they were working in more and more humor to the point where they just weren't even horror films anymore. They were just comedies with gore.
Yeah.
But at this time, they were playing the movie. They were playing them straight, and they were great. As a kid, I knew the difference between Hammer and Amicus. Right? Like last week, I covered Tales from the Crypt from 1972, which is like,
I actually seen that a lot when I was a kid, like really young. But there's a biker in there, right? A biker?
Yes.
Okay, so I've seen parts of it, but I just remember like a bike, like a Ghost Rider or something, right?
Yeah, with a skull face.
Yeah. See, that's what I remember. I remember the Crypt Keeper, but I never watched it, and I wanted to watch it too last week, but I had to do inventory, so.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, right.
Traitor. No, it's all good. You know that. But it's on Tubi, and it's like unedited, and it's a lot better than I remembered. Like
it's a comic book movie too.
It's a comic book movie. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. Sir Ralph Richardson is the Crypt Keeper. Yeah, definitely worth a look. If you folks haven't seen that, check that out.
Got Oliver in the chat.
Oh, Ollie, what up, brother? I just paid him. He's doing the colors on Six Gun. Preston just finished the pencils on that.
Oh man, it looks so good. I seen some of the stuff you've been dropping on Twitter, bro. Oh man.
Oh, don't look beautiful.
Oh man, the pencils and the colors.
Yeah. And yeah, Ollie's like I said, I was just like, man, thank you for making my book look all pretty, making my book look pretty. But yeah, Blood on Satan's Claw. So Blood on Satan's Claw was produced by Tygon International. Tygon didn't make that many movies. They only made about 5, if I can remember correctly. It's Beast in the Cellar, which is shit. What's the other crappy one? Oh, The Ghoul. It's imagine a remake of Hammer's The Reptile, but like just a complete absolute snooze fest. Then they did Legend of the Werewolf, which I think is really quite good, although it's it kind of suffers a little bit from like the really obviously low budget. And then they made 2 classics, and one of them is Matthew Hopkins' Witchfinder General, and the other one is tonight's movie, Blood on Satan's Claw. So, yeah, where to begin with Blood on Satan's Claw? How would you describe this to people who haven't seen it before?
Well, like, I would say it's to me, I would do that night. Like if I was hosting like a horror movie night, you know what I mean? Like Elvira or, I would put that up with Kronos. You know what I mean? They're both totally different. They're in different time periods,
Yeah.
But they're both about hunting like demonic entities. You know what I mean?
Yes. Evil.
So it's definitely like a witch hunter movie or a monster hunter movie, but in the form of Satan. But I don't even think it was Satan. It was one of Satan's demons.
Exactly.
But the way that they're using, I don't know. Yeah. I would classify it as a witch hunter movie. It's weird to like, because there is a genre. You know what I mean? I would put that in there. I would put Solomon Kane in there. I would put The Witch, that new one that just came out.
Yeah,
I put that in there.
Yes.
It's basically New England and England with a lot of the witchcraft and the Puritanians or the Puritans and also the Quakers and just all of that. Just the witch trials. I put them all in there. Also the one with the Crucible, I think, with Daniel Day-Lewis. Was that?
Yes.
I put that in there.
Played by Arthur Miller. Yeah.
And you could argue that that's horror, that's not horror. I put it in there still. I don't give a fuck. It doesn't have to have an entity in there. Anytime there's like horrific shit going on. Again, That's another conversation. Like we talk about Fangoria doing that movie with Stephen Lang with the vets fighting you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To me, horror is a broad spectrum. It doesn't
is.
have to have. It could be horrific and horrific. But yeah, I would put those back in there. Definitely, it's in that genre. If you like those type of movies, I love those. Oh, big one too. I'd also forget. And speaking of Nathan Lane or Stephen Lane, there was a show called Salem. It was on the BBC. I watched that one. It's pretty crazy. It was a soapy fucking Salem witch trial show with evil witches and all kinds of shit. So I would throw that one in there too. Marilyn Manson was in there too. It was funny.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, he was a doctor in there. It was creepy as fuck. But that was a cool show, dude. It was fun. And
I need to check that out.
Stephen Lang, he's a fucking like witch hunter badass fool. You know what I mean? He's in there and he gets like resurrected and he's a fucking zombie for this main witch, and she's like married to like the main guy in the town. Oh, it's cool, dude. It's a fantasy horror, witch hunter type show, But
I need to see that, man. Where
it's a big genre, dude. This is a big genre now. There's so many. Like I'd probably name like 10 different movies.
Black Death was another really good one.
Black Death.
That's also well worth seeing. That's
Season
kind
of the Witch.
like
Nicolas Cage and Ron Perlman. I'd put that one in there too. I mean, it's not the same time period, but it kind of bleeds in there a little bit. I would still throw it in there.
Right. Charles, who, by the way, lives in Salem, Massachusetts, says the horror of the Crucible is in the groupthink. People
Yeah,
turning on each other. No need for monsters. Yeah, yeah. Where
exactly.
the horror is coming from next door, and it's your neighbor. When people split hairs over whether something is horror or not, it usually depends on the audience that it's made for or the tax bracket of the audience that appreciates it, if you know what I'm saying. So it's like,
Yeah.
oh, well, it's Arthur Miller, so it's not horror, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, kind of a death, death of a salesman for crying out loud. I would put it probably in the category of non-horror horror movies, which is another discussion.
Right.
But yeah, no, it's in the genre. I mean, there were real trashy ones that came out after, because Witchfinder General, it should be mentioned, caused a real stir. People were shocked by that movie, and the violence in it still makes you cringe. It's still really potent, powerful stuff. These images of unspeakable cruelty that were, of course, very, very real. Blood on Satan's Claw. Oh wait, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so Matthew Hopkins' Witchfinder General spawned a bunch of real trashy ripoffs too. There's Mark of the Devil. You can also see that on YouTube. That's got Udo Kier and Herbert Lom as the witch hunter. And what's another one from that period? Oh, Inquisition by Paul Naschy.
Have you seen Season of the Witch before with Nicolas Cage
Yes.
and Ron Perlman?
Oh wait,
that movie's cheesy, but it's pretty fucking bad. Like in the beginning of the movie, they're both Crusaders, and they're fighting in the Crusades, over in in Jerusalem, and then they come back to England, and there's this witch that's fucking hanging herself on a bridge, and I think I've seen it in the movie theater, but this is like 10 years ago, dude. And they have to, I guess her body, like she's resurrected again. They have to take her body to this fucking abbey, like somewhere. And Christopher Lee's in there, and he's like dying. He's this old, decrepit guy. I think he's a leper. Yeah. He's like, you must take the witch to Severac. And he's just like all dying and shit.
I had no idea that Christopher Lee was in that.
Very Hammer filmed. Like it was fun, And I remember.
So it's worth checking out, you would say.
Oh, for sure. And the ending, the ending is pretty epic. It's just the concept is epic. The very end, like it's pretty fucking cool. And I remember like Nicolas Cage was like, yeah, it's fun seeing Hellboy and Ghost Rider as Crusaders, just in a montage in the beginning with their armor on. But Nicolas Cage was like, yeah, like we don't really have accents in the movie, but no one really knows how anybody talked back then. And he's like,
exactly.
He's like, were you fucking there? I don't know. I mean, none of us were there. No one really knows for sure how people were talking in that time period in England. I'm like,
oh god,
motherfucker's got a point. I mean, I hate to say it, but
yes.
I mean, we know by the written word, but from that time period, but I don't know. But yeah,
you don't know. But the way that people, like, if you've seen the remake of True Grit, for instance, right?
Yeah.
All the dialogue in that's not how people spoke. That's how people wrote.
Yeah.
The author of the novel was studying letters. The way that people wrote wasn't the way that people spoke.
Yeah.
And I think the most idiotic was when Tom Cruise made this movie about the assassination plot on Bitler. I'm being careful here, so YouTube doesn't strike us. And people were like, okay, so all these characters are German. Why aren't they speaking with German accents? I was like, the idea is that they're speaking English, right? It was the idea is that they're speaking German, but you're hearing it as English.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And so they would be, so they'd be speaking Queen's English. But all the actors in that just use their own regular voices, which I think is perfectly fine. But other people consider it distracting because it's just not what they're used to hearing.
Yeah. Sometimes you just got to set up some ground rules in your brain before you start watching a movie and then just get into the story. But most people don't do that. You know what I mean? Like, all right, they're talking this. That's it. Boom, switch it off. Let's watch the story. Oh, you know what I did? I totally forgot. Back to the beginning of the show, there is some horror movie news I heard about. Nicolas Cage is playing Dracula. in the movie.
Yeah, that's right.
The movie Renfield. So I'm pretty excited about that. He's got a new movie. What is it? Strangers in the Paradise or something like that, or Prisoners in Paradise.
Prisoners of the Ghostland.
Ghostland. Yeah, I want to see that movie. It looks pretty interesting. I seen that the other day.
It's on. Our porno bot is back. What the fuck was I thinking of? That's on Shudder right now. But I haven't watched it yet. But I've been meaning to. It's one of those movies that's on my list. Isn't it interesting how Nicolas Cage was like the worst actor ever for a while because he was in a lot of low budget horror movies, and for some reason people think that if an actor is in bad movies that they're a bad actor,
right?
Because of course he had IRS problems, and so he was taking anything and everything that was coming his way just to keep his ass out of prison, and it ruined his reputation. But now he's built a reputation as this like art house.
He's Christopher Lee now. He's Christopher Lee, Vincent Price, Peter Cushing, all put the fuck together now, and he's relevant as fuck. It's funny too, dude. He's sneaking up on fucking John Wick, so you better watch his back.
And I mean, already 2 classics. Mandy, instant classic. Colorado Space, instant classic.
Sorry, but I was at Walmart the other day, and I seen Pig and fucking that Strangers and Prisoners in the Strangeland or whatnot, and I'm like, damn, dude, those both look fucking good, and they're both. I hear they're both entertaining at least. You know what I mean? And he's the only one putting out like some decent, like, you know, some imaginative type movies that are out there with some fun acting. You know what I mean? Like his movies are the most interesting looking right now compared to like all the big budget, you know, Marvel and DC stuff. I know it sounds funky, but that's what's up.
No. Oh, not at all. Not at all. The mainstream Hollywood movies are virtually unwatchable. They're not art, they're content. Right? They're not even product, they're content.
Oliver said Wally World. That movie was fucking fun too, dude.
I haven't seen that. How is that?
It was cool, dude. He doesn't say a fucking word in there. And he just goes in there and like there's this like haunted like Chuck E. Cheese, right?
Cheese.
And it's haunted by all these demonic robotic like demons. And he goes in there to clean it. So basically, I don't want to spoil it, but he has to go in there to clean it. He doesn't say a word, and he's just pounding like these. They're like Jolt Colas. Remember Jolt Colas with caffeine?
Yeah,
pounding those, like cleaning shit, and then just going in there, and it's just a fun movie to watch when you're having a beer real quick, you know. And
I'll check it out.
Just throwing out like horror icons left and right, like iconic characters that you could spin like movie franchises off of, you know. That it may be low budget or high budget, like they're fun stuff, dude. He's spinning out a lot of shit. But anyways, back to
it's a very good time for him. And he says now in interviews that, you know, originally it's like, oh crap, he was slumming it, and now he's like, I can't imagine going back to like big mainstream Hollywood movies. He's like, I love this.
I think he said it was scary over there, and he was talking about the mouse, and he's like, yeah, he made some fun mouse movies. Those I really like those National Treasures. I like the whole like history of Americana, where there's like hidden stuff, throughout America. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing is he became sort of like a mainstream like an action hero.
Yeah, he was the Bruckheimer boy, dude.
Oh yeah. Oh God, Con Air. I love that movie.
I love that shit. Cameron Poe. That shit's tight,
dude. with the wavy hair and shit.
He's getting jacked up in prison. He's like, oh, like getting all big and shit.
Yeah, That's a fun movie. That's
it's fun. Movie. That movie's awesome. Malkovich in there, and what is it? I think Dave Chappelle's running around in there.
He gets frozen.
Running around in there. Oh yeah, that movie's hilarious.
Yeah, and Ving Rhames.
Firing
2 submachine guns sideways at the same time.
Right? Oh man.
Yeah, it's a great movie. Like for a mainstream movie, that's amazing.
Oh yeah.
But mainstream movies aren't amazing anymore. It used to be that every now and then you'd see something that was like, wow, or like, well, that was stupid, but it was fun, and it had some style to it, and it had some character to it. Like I'm done with the Marvel movies, and it's not
totally,
me
dude,
saying like that's it. This is an act of protest. I've just lost interest. Like
I'm into the Spidey movies now. Yeah, like I'm not diehard into them, but I'll watch them. Right. I'll go check that Spider-Man. It's got Alfred Molina in it and Willem Dafoe. You know, I'll check that out. That looks like some fun shit. And Doctor Strange. Oh, I am gonna go see the Doctor Strange movie. Sam Raimi's fucking directing that shit.
I know.
So
I know.
I'm low key excited about that. I do
Me
want to
too.
go watch Batman. That shit looks pretty tight as fuck.
It does. It does.
What else is there? I'll check out Thor. It'll be fun, but it'll be a bastardization. But it'll be
Oh.
fun and entertaining. Just like
Oh.
I thought Ragnarok
saying
was kind of fun. It could have been should have been 6 movies, but
well,
it was just like 6 movies just fucked into one movie. But it was still an entertaining movie. You know what I mean?
it was, but I hated seeing, the Warriors 3 going out like bitches.
Oh, it was so just like she's like, I'm Hella, and she just like dude, nah, bro. Like they have like arcs. You're just gonna like pinch them off like turds real quick. Like,
Well, yeah, because
there's no like Warrior's death for any of them. Like they're not going to
No.
fucking Valhalla. They didn't go to Valhalla.
No. And that's but that's because it's clearly made by somebody that doesn't give a fuck about Thor.
Mm-hmm. He's
Right?
basically saying like, I don't give a fuck. And then like the new one, they're gonna have the lady Thor and all that shit, and it's just
Yeah,
fucking
and they're just
stupid.
going to drag that character through the mud. It's all because they can't just uplift the female characters. They have to emasculate the male characters to push them down. And Thor isn't just male, but he's also blonde-haired and blue-eyed. That puts him at the bottom of the progressive stack.
He ain't
So they
coming
gotta
back to the end of the
ship-
movie, dude. It's just gonna be her
Yeah.
probably. But I mean,
Yeah.
don't quote me or nothing. But and then Christian Bale. I want to see Christian Bale in there. He's gonna be fucking bad as Gore. So
Well, they're doing the he's playing the God Butcher.
yeah. So I mean, that sounds tight. I mean, I'll watch it just for Christian Bale, like just him fucking butchering motherfuckers. I'll watch that. Like
Yeah,
I always
well,
say, dude, the first 15 minutes of every Thor movie is my favorite part.
Right. Yeah, I'd have to agree. I would have to agree with you there. So, Blood on Satan's Claw, the beginning. Right. We've got what's his face? Barry Andrews, who some of you might recognize from
Yeah.
Dracula Has Risen from the Grave.
That's who
If
it was. I knew it. I recognized him from somewhere. I'm like, I've seen him from something else though. Beside that,
Yeah, he was in a couple. He wasn't in. It wasn't in a lot, but he was in a couple of horror films. And Dracula Has Risen from the Grave, of course. He is the atheist who stakes Dracula. And there's that great scene where he stakes Dracula and Christopher Lee's jumping up and blood is just going everywhere. And evidently now when you stake Dracula, you have to say a prayer, and he can't because he's an atheist, right? and so he's bitching at the priest who's Dracula's familiar. You're the priest, you pray. Oh God, it's such a great scene. Anyway, he is a strapping young lad who is in the Cornish countryside.
good band by the way.
What was that?
I said that's a good metal band by the way.
What?
Strapping Young Lad.
Strapping Young Lad. Yeah, it is. Yeah, definitely a Devin Townsend fan for sure. So he's plowing the fields and he digs something up. Of course, that should have remained buried. And it looks like a pile of old bones, but there's other stuff in there. There's what looks to be fur. And I remember as a kid, this shot really, really struck me. It's like he's crouching down and then he removes that piece of bone that's there and he finds the bones of some fiend, as he describes it. And then, of course, there's this there's like a worm coming out of its mouth and one of its eyeballs is intact. And, as if that weren't enough, we need a nice close-up of the worm crawling on the eyeball.
The Nightcrawler on the eyeball.
Yeah. That's nasty.
PETA. Call PETA.
So, it starts the movie off with a big what the F.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Nice
What?
shot right there.
Yeah, isn't that great? Yeah, the opening credits to this are
It's an album cover from the 90s, a fucking death metal band right there.
Right? And well, yeah, I mean, it's a movie, there's like devil stuff going on in this. It's definitely metal. And so he finds the bones of this fiend as he describes it, and he goes to tell the local magistrate, the judge, who is in town visiting an old friend of his, who was when he was young, he courted her, and it didn't work out. But they're still chums. So he's there to visit her, and God, there's this great moment where he lifts his glass and says, "I give you His Catholic Majesty King James III.
Yeah.
May God bless him and keep him in exile." Breaks the fucking glass. I was just like, where the fuck did that come from?
Yeah, it was all rando. I was like, damn, what's up, Anthony? Oh, what in the porn bot?
Again? Man, aggressive. Not that I got anything against smut, but god damn.
Going
Let's see.
hard on that porn bot, man.
Yeah, hard on that porn bot. Did they get any clicks? Is anybody watching this going to click on that? I seriously doubt it.
Oh man.
Oh man.
But yeah,
Ollie,
look at that. It looks like Tony right there. It looks like Anthony Hopkins cheering it up, dude.
Without a doubt. Patrick Weingard passed away not long after making this. He gives a great performance.
Hell yeah, he's my favorite character for sure, dude.
Without a doubt.
That fool was Chad fucking badass motherfucker as fuck at the finale.
Oh, the end. Oh,
came in hard at the end, dude. I was like, this is tight.
The end of that was one of the things that blew my mind when I was a kid.
That weapon, though, dude.
It's a Zweihander.
See, I knew you knew what that was. You're the weapon.
Yeah, it's a Zweihander. Zweihander means two-hander in German. It's a sword that was used by German mercenaries in like the 1400s, and it was particularly effective at fighting people with pikes and breaking pike and spear lines. And if it's a massive, it's like a 6 foot sword. It's gigantic.
Yeah.
And so you do a lot of half swording with it. There's a great scene at the climax of a great medieval kind of action movie that's called it's Iron something or another. Not Ironheart, not Iron Will. It'll Ironclad. Where there's a great,
is that fucking badass, dude?
Badass.
Where they light the pigs on fire and they.
Oh man!
And they made a sequel too, dude.
Yes, I haven't seen it. Is it
Paul Giamatti in the first one? Oh, I remember that was just some random fucking badass like castle Viking medieval fucking siege movie. I was like, what the fuck? I was like,
and gory as fuck too.
I gotta buy that one. I gotta get that one in Black Death.
Yes, very
Bisley
good.
did some art for Black Death. Did you know that?
No.
Dude, there's a fucking poster. I'm like, if it's not Biz, it's someone else that's like Biz inspired. You know what I mean?
No shit.
Dude. Sorry.
Don't be sorry.
This thing's populating the brain.
Conversation. Dude. No, I mean that's what a stream like this is all about. The little meanderings and that sort of a thing. I always intended this to be as relaxed of a stream as possible. But yeah, Ironclad has some great medieval gore in it. I mean, you get to see what like a warhammer or a mace would do to somebody's head. These things were designed to basically dismantle people.
Oh,
so yeah, man. And I am going to get into the ending for this too, because I think it's probably too good just to not talk about. But if I do that, of course, I'll drop a big spoiler warning because people are all uptight about that shit. So the young man goes to warn the judge about this thing that he's found, and he couldn't give a rat's ass. So this other young fellow brings his his girlfriend, basically, to his mother's house, and brings her home to meet mother. The judge is there. And, there's no way they're staying in the same bedroom. So she ends up staying in the musty old attic. And suddenly there's a rustling in the attic. And a blood-curdling scream is heard. and they knock down the door and they find her stark raving mad. And they nail her up inside, and the judge is like, lock her up in there, keep her there, and we'll get some guards and they'll take her to Bedlam in the morning. Bedlam, of course, being the notorious insane asylum, where, God, the treatment of the mentally ill, of course, was, it's not a stretch to call the treatment of the mentally ill in that asylum medieval. So he's like, hey, man, like, this is actually probably a good thing because she never would have made you a good wife.
Right.
Very tactful, dude.
He was right, though. He was right. I was like, that's fucked up, bro. And then I'm like, whoa, homeboy's right.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the thing that I love about this. And I love about other films where witchcraft is real.
Yeah.
Because it's such an intriguing premise. Because you think of people that are witch hunters. Of course, witch hunters were like satanically evil. Right?
Yeah.
But what an interesting premise if, like, well, what if they were right?
Some of them.
I
think some of them were right. Some of them weren't. That's my personal opinion, I think a lot of them were wrong, but I think some of them were right.
Oh, yeah, the witch...
Just like in nowadays, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's some evil motherfuckers, and then there's some, people that are just practicing their own religion that's non-harmful to people, but then there's some that are some evil motherfuckers, some baby killing motherfuckers out there, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, so, without a doubt.
That's how I think it was back then, both in New England and in England.
Well, it's like you create the image of the devil worshiper. If they didn't exist before, they exist now.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Because once that idea gets out there, there's going to be some people who are going to take to it like ducks to water.
Right.
And the following morning, the door is opened and she's let out rather peacefully, and her well, not really her fiance to be, we might say, is shocked by her appearance because of the way that she's looking at him.
She played that part pretty good too. She was scary.
Oh, beautiful.
She was scary right there going down the stairs.
Very. Really creepy because it's like he's looking in her eyes, and that's always a terrifying concept, that there's this person that you're close to, there's this person that you love, you're looking in their eyes, and suddenly you don't recognize them. There's somebody else there.
It's fucked up.
And right, very, very a terrifying prospect. And then, of course, there's this wonderful detail. She's smiling at him, and the smile gets more and more mischievous. And then, we see that she has a claw for a hand.
It's like, oh, fuck.
Right? Another what the fuck detail in this movie. So then we have the reverend, the good reverend of the town, who, oh yeah, I should mention, the body of the fiend disappears, right? Because when the young man brings the judge to look at it, it's gone. It didn't get up and leave, right?
Right.
Somebody must have taken it, and then we see the reverend, and immediately I started thinking it's got to be him.
Yeah, the whole time I was like, this motherfucker right here. He's got the kids. He's a fucking school teacher. You know what I mean?
Right.
Is it him? It might have been him. It might not have been him. You know what I mean?
Right.
But this movie, it's really, you really don't know what's going on. And I like that. I appreciate that. It's from the 70s, right? Or at least 80.
Yep.
So it had a lot of twists and turns for a good part of the movie that was unpredictable, which makes it a definite, watch.
Yes. This is from 71, actually. The director, I should mention, is Piers Haggard. Piers Haggard was a TV director. And, I think he really came out of nowhere with this. It's from the same period as Hammer and Amicus. It's still nothing like a Hammer or an Amicus movie, because those always make some kind of practical sense. They have a warm, kind of cozy feeling to them. And this movie's not warm and cozy.
No, it's very uncomfortable and, very unsettling feeling when you watch it.
very unsettling. And unfortunately, it was a financial failure, and that was pretty much the end of Piers Haggard's directorial career as a feature film director. I think he made a couple of movies much, much later. They weren't horror films, unfortunately, because when I look at this, I'm just like, fuck, make more horror movies with this guy. But it didn't happen. But he did have a flourishing career before and after as a TV director. Particularly in England, doing a lot of stuff for the BBC. So the movie takes a really interesting turn here because the preacher is giving moral instruction, religious instruction to the village's children, and they're a bunch of vicious little fuckers.
Yeah. Evil.
Malignant. Yeah. Malignant little fucks, right?
Sinister.
And it's really odd because it's sort of like this movie suddenly veers off into another genre, which is the juvenile delinquent genre.
Yeah. For a little bit, yeah.
Right? Did it kind of feel like that?
Yeah, for a little bit. Like
Blackboard Jungle or To Sir with Love or something like that. They're like a bunch of little juvenile delinquents.
Yeah.
You were assuming, of course, that they weren't like this before.
Right.
That now they've been contaminated by evil.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And it's spreading. And then, of course, there is the very lovely Linda Hayden as Angel, who is the ringleader of this particular group of children who have been seduced by evil. I don't know about you. I think she steals this movie.
Yeah, she's scary, dude.
she's scary. She's sexy. There's an attraction revulsion dynamic that happens sometimes. This is also around the time when they started putting nudity in the films. And I always say that the Hammer movies, when they started using nudity, it was a mistake because it made the movies less sexy. That they were sexier when they just had the booby dresses, right? That sometimes less is more. Of course, sometimes more is more. In this case, I thought the nudity was used perfectly, and it makes you uncomfortable because, definitely. Of course, right?
Yeah.
It adds a feeling of unease, which, let's face it, is what horror is all about. And so they're passing something around. Of course, the Reverend wants to see what it is, and it happens to be a claw. And it's not a bear claw, not a wolf claw. It's a demon claw. Now, the movie's called, and I'm glad you noticed this, the movie's called Blood on Satan's Claw, but there's really nothing to indicate that that Satan is that's the devil's body. As a kid, I thought that was the case, which to me made this movie even 100,000 times stranger.
Right.
Like what the hell happened? Like he fell from heaven and like this is where he landed? It's we discover a demon named Behemoth, and which is also the name of a metal band, which makes this movie even more metal. And man, one of my favorite scenes is where the fiance goes into the attic to poor guy is he didn't seem like he was that into her. But it turns out that he is actually really heartbroken. And so he sort of, goes into the attic to kind of, get an idea of maybe what happened. And he finds some of the flowers that he gave her. And he smells them. And, it's a wonderful scene. He's like lying back in the bed. And you could tell, this kid is, he's heartbroken. And then we hear a scratching underneath the floor.
Don't put your hand in there, bro. Don't do it.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Yeah. Yeah. But of course, he has to know something's down there, and whatever's down there grabs his arm, gives it a good yank, and dun dun dun.
Oh damn, that ain't a bear's hand.
No, it's the Fiend's hand, of course. It's the Fiend. And it's just I just love this scene. I think it's really spooky because the floorboard starts sort of like moving up and down, right? Kind of like I don't know, like an accordion or like piano keys or something. And he's trying to keep it down.
Yeah, it's probably one of the scariest parts of the movie, I think.
I think so too.
Yeah.
It's creepy as fuck. And I'm not going to give away what happens there, but the plot of this is incredibly strange because what's happening is that the children in the village, including that young man, are being
manipulated,
targeted by this evil.
Yeah.
What's happening is that some of them, like for instance, he basically gets like the Fiend's hand, right?
Yeah.
And then other people are getting internal organs. It's suggested, right?
Oh yeah, that makes sense. That's why it's on different spots of the body, of the anatomies.
Right. And some of them are getting the devil's skin. Which was one of the one of the titles for the original title for this was Satan's Skin.
And that's pretty good.
Which is okay. Blood on Satan's Claw is better though, I think.
Yeah.
So what's happening is they're all getting these pieces of the demon. And so those pieces then have to be removed and given to the Fiend so he can. We never see him doing this, but presumably he's patching himself together. One witness says, you don't see it, but somebody says like somebody's seen the Fiend. He's hopping around on one leg, which is a silly image, but kind of creepy at the same time. I mean,
yeah,
like nightmares are often silly and scary at the same time. So the judge starts to take this more seriously after this young man mutilates his hand. And he's just like, all right, tell you what, I'm going to go into the city. I'm going to do some homework. And one of the best lines in the movie is he says to one of the men before he leaves, it's not the town constable, I don't think, but he tells this fellow who is like in charge, like the mayor, I guess, or the Burgomeister. No, wait, this is England, so it would be the mayor. He tells him, let the evil grow.
Yeah, I remember that.
Let the evil grow. That you have to sort of let it ripen.
Yeah.
Before you have to let it come to a head before you move ahead and strike, which is a really creepy idea. And sure enough, the mayor gives him this look like really?
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find the actual quote. Oh yeah, here it is. You must have patience, even while people die. Only thus can the whole evil be destroyed. You must let it grow.
Oh, there's got Sim in the chat. Hail Sim.
Yo, Sim, what up, brother? What up, brother man? Good to have you. Yeah, we're talking about Blood on Satan's Claw. I don't know if you've seen it. This might be one of the movies that you can't connect with, but
I think you might like it. You might like it.
You might like it. Possibly.
50-50.
Yeah. Yeah. You never know. So then it turns out that the kids, they are oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, like for instance, there's this scene, there's a boy who gets hacked to death, and there's parts of his body that are missing.
That part when they're like, okay, when the kids are putting the blindfold on the kid, You know what I mean? When they're
Yes.
scaring him. So they put him like in a circle. I don't know if they're what they're playing, like whatever game. The camera goes by the little, I don't know if it's like there's a threshold and you see the girl in the background just standing there. You know what I mean? And you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And then they come back around to her. You know what I mean? I think that just like that one go by was probably one of the scariest parts for me in the movie. Just a little image, like it's coming. You know what I mean?
Right. He doesn't know what he's just right. He thinks they're playing a game.
Yeah.
And they're not. They end up killing him off screen. His mother finds his body in the woodpile, missing some parts. And that's a really strong scene too, when she finds his body in the woodpile. I mean, the acting there by that actress is fantastic. I mean, she just disintegrates into grief. And so at the funeral, his mother's there, his sister's there, homeboy's there, and suddenly she feels a sharp pain inside. And she turns around and sees that she's being stared at, by Angel, the ringleader of the evil children. And then there's a scene where they grab her. She already has. We see in a later moment the devil's skin, and they lead her into what looks like some kind of a pagan ritual, right? Mm-hmm. And then we notice that, boy, Angel's got some eyebrows there, hasn't she?
Some furry eyebrows there.
Yeah. So she's obviously got Behemoth's eyebrows. Those are going to have to come off at some point, honey. I hope you realize that. At the same time, you don't really think of her as, I don't know if you think of her as a villain.
Oh, right? Do. I was already like, she's like, boom, she's the villain. You know what I mean?
Well, she's a bad girl.
She got that teacher later on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, hasn't she been contaminated by evil? Hasn't she? Isn't she under the influence of this demon? It's like, how much is the kid's own responsibility? And then there's the fact that they are kids, but it's the fact that he goes after the kids.
Yeah, like for me, like, it's a kid, but like something infected her or something influenced her, so you don't know what the influence is yet. That's the word, influence. You don't know what's in. I mean, obviously there's some demons in there, demonic energy or whatnot, but you don't know exactly. I didn't know exactly where it came from till the end of the movie. It tells you. You know what I mean?
Right.
I know now, but still, I'm like, well, I mean, yeah, the demon is influencing her, but maybe there's something else. But I kind of knew she was up to no good already. I mean, she's pretty fucking evil.
Right. She does a lot of evil. She does a lot of evil stuff, but so many of the unanswered questions are what makes this movie fun. It doesn't spell everything out like so many of today's films do, where it's like the audience constantly has to be, I mean, even in like the Christopher Nolan movies, where he's given a great deal of creative autonomy, there's always that moment that you could tell is there to make the studio execs feel more comfortable, where a character explains the entire plot for the audience.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, here's a quick rundown. And it's always done like in expository dialogue, and it's always clunky, but it's always there.
Yeah.
Here, of course, you're in a horror movie. Fucked if you know where you stand. Especially something like this. So, right, as Charles says, it's the innocence that's attractive to evil. There's it's said that children are the devil's candy, which reminds me of a relatively recent movie called The Devil's Candy, which I recommend. It's definitely worth checking out. So they grab this poor girl and lead her into this field for some nastiness. And then there's just what I think is an incredibly creepy detail, is now amongst the kids are like some demented old people.
Yeah, probably from the woods. And it's just, old people and young people, kids. I don't know. They might be easily influenced or something.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking that these are old people. The woman is obviously senile. The man seems senile too, and it's like, I don't know, maybe they're especially vulnerable to the pull of this demon. So there's a yeah, she's like led into this ruin of an abandoned church, and then we finally get a look at the fiend.
Yeah, that was creepy as fuck. I was like, what?
And if you didn't catch it, when you hear him speaking, he says, "Where is my skin?"
Oh yeah, that was creepy as fuck. Like anytime he speaks, I was like, "Ooh, that shit's scary."
Yeah, really creepy, really creepy. And so then there's a pretty brutal rape scene.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal.
Yeah, that was cut for American release. That's restored to the version that you'll see on Tubi. That's restored. These stills are from the Blu-ray, which of course I had to grab like the day it came out. And wow, it's a really creepy scene. Supposedly this was not in the script. This was something that they came up with on the spot. And it's incredibly effective because while this poor girl is being brutalized, Angel is clearly taking some sexual pleasure from it.
Yeah,
And so are some of the other members of the coven, if you'll call that. And one of the young ladies is very clearly having an orgasm.
yeah, definitely. That shit was scary
Right?
as fuck.
Yeah, it's
like, damn,
really creepy and it's really uncomfortable. It's just like, oh man, once again, it's like the Hammer movies are cozy. The Amicus movies are cozy. This is not cozy. This is like moving into real dangerous areas. By dangerous, of course, I don't mean like morally dangerous. I mean, I would say brave directions, where it's like you're going places where as an artist you might just end up in some serious trouble.
Yeah.
And this was one of the movies also that was a part of the Video Nasties moral panic that I was talking about before. And wait, where's that picture of Homegirl here? Yeah, and like it's very you can't really see it in the shot, but it's very clear she busts a nut. All right, she gets a nut during that scene for sure. The judge, I'm going to hell for this shit. The judge eventually comes back and is aware of the evil. Actually, you know what? Let me see if I can find a shot of that book, because there's a illustration. Oh wait, hold on. There she is busting a nut. So the judge is talking.
Luigi.
It's a Luigi. And he has a book on witchcraft. And they discover an illustration of the fiend that exactly fits the description of witnesses. Because, and that's one of the things I like about this too, is that you don't see it. You don't see him like walking around hobbling or hopping around the countryside on one leg, but the reports are there.
Oh yeah, spoken of.
Yeah, people are seeing this thing.
So one thing that was cool about the movie too is like they show the demon. You know what I mean? Usually they kind of don't show it. You know what I mean? But here they show it.
Yes, indeed they do. One of the things I've always wanted to do when I go to England is go on a tour of all of the spots where they shot the Hammer movies. This is one of those spots too. This is an actual ruined church in a forest.
Oh, scary.
And
that's pretty metal.
Well, it's one of those things. It's like it's actually really beautiful, but it's in the right light, especially if it were a moonlight, it'd be incredibly spooky.
Yeah.
And let's see. Okay. All right. I managed to snap a shot of that, or you don't see any offending parts.
Yeah, that part was creepy too.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was because she tries to seduce the reverend.
Yeah, he's like, "Bitch, put your clothes on. Get the fuck out of here."
Well, no, not quite. At first, he's just like, oh,
Yeah,
like, oh, you're so hot, which she's very persuasive, but he's has some morals and ethics, so he doesn't do the nasty, and that's what gets him into trouble. Because then she's like, he tried to have his way with me, and
right. Then
the mayor doesn't. Yeah, the mayor doesn't even want to hear it. He's like, that fiend. They just grab him and fucking tie his ass up. Yeah, and so yeah, he narrowly escapes being killed. But then the judge comes back, and he's just like, oh yeah, cut him loose.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, no, it's like some demon or something. It's like, yeah, no, it's Angel, right? Yeah, she's
she ain't no angel.
She ain't no angel. And Angel, if she is an angel, she's an evil angel.
Right. Angel of
definitely Angel of Death. So Ralph, Barry Andrews' character, then of course at one point cuts his his ankle or his shin, and discovers now he has the devil's skin.
Like a bad case of it.
A bad case of it, right? And so we come to the climax of Blood on Satan's Claw. What would you say about this scene?
Kind of reminded me a little bit of From Dusk Till Dawn a little bit, with the Quentin Tarantino and what is it, Satanica
Pandemonium.
Kind of reminded me of that a little bit. And then well, I don't want to spoil it too much. We talked about the weapon, you know what I mean?
All right.
A lot of these old movies, like the last fucking 5 minutes of them, have a lot of cool shit going on. Like that one Circus Comes to Town movie, like just
Vampire Circus.
They really put a lot. They really. I don't know if it.
They deliver.
Almost, yeah, it's just it delivers really in the last 5 minutes. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing is. This is why, as a writer, I always believe that you need to have your ending first. I'm not saying you need to, but I'm kind of saying you need to. I'm saying I need to.
No, a lot of people do, man. You just, and otherwise you never know where the ending's going to go, I guess, or what the point.
Well, you don't even have to stick with it. You can change the ending once you get to it. But everything is leading up to that.
Yeah.
And, which is why when the endings to films are arbitrarily changed by a studio, the results usually are less than spectacular. Let's see. Yeah, Charles is saying they want to keep everybody there to the end. But it's not like this is it's not that this movie is ever slow. It's not that it ever drags or has a weak middle act or anything. It's pretty snappy. There's always something going on.
Yeah, it's pretty quick. Yeah.
And so, yes, the judge shows up just as Barry here is about to be welcomed into the coven, and spoiler alert, unleashes the Langesmesser. Well, no, I'm sorry, not the Langesmesser, the Zweihander. Let's see, where is it? Let me get a shot of that. Let's see. There it is. You can see there why it's called a two-hander. There's the hilt. And he jumps in and lets Behemoth know he ain't having it.
Everyone just gets the fuck out of the way too. Those I like. They're just like
everybody gets the fuck out of the way, because that's very much a get the fuck out of the way weapon.
It's a shotgun back there.
Well, it's like the medieval version of a 12 gauge. You'll notice that a lot of guard weapons, like weapons that are used by palace guards, that sort of a thing. They're very much get the fuck out of my way weapons, like halberds and that sort of a thing. Because the idea is they're they're gonna hold the attacking parties at bay while their guy gets away. But yeah, these were real weapons, and they were used to fight men with pikes, and rather effectively, according to historical details. So yeah, he and Behemoth get down, and well, let's just say it doesn't end well for Behemoth. And I just always loved.
It's a good shot right there.
Yeah, it's great stuff. Yeah, so I don't know. I love this movie to bits. I really do. It's very, very peculiar, very strange. Obviously not for everybody, but if you are a bolder horror fan and you want to see something that's really not quite like anything you've ever seen before, check it out. You can find a link to watch it on Tubi below. And Tubi, like I said, the second part is they have commercials, but like Matt always says, you can use that to go to the bathroom or grab some popcorn. It's all good. But it actually, in some ways, recreates the experience of the old days when you were watching movies on TV as a kid. So, any final thoughts about Blood on Satan's Claw?
It's a crazy movie. Check it out. It's pretty far out, unnerving, but I definitely recommend it. Check it out.
Excellent. Yeah. Once again, smash the like button. Smash the subscribe button. Also, hit that little bell, and so you will be notified of when we're streaming, when we're doing one of these. Now, what do you think we should do next week?
You got any ideas?
I do.
What do you got?
I was thinking we haven't done any Vincent Price, we haven't done any Poe movies, and we haven't done any of my homegirl, Barbara Steele.
Okay, we'll pick one.
So I'm thinking Pit and the Pendulum.
Okay.
Have you seen it?
No. Mm-mm.
Ooh, you're in for you're gonna dig that. You're gonna dig that. You
can make a t-shirt pretty soon. Have you seen this one, Matt? No.
But you see, that's what's great is we haven't seen these movies, so it's not like two guys talking about a movie that they've both seen like 100 times.
Right.
So you get my perspective, the guy that's seen it 100 times, and somebody that's like completely new that's only just watched this like maybe like an hour or two before the stream or like the day before.
You seen The Raven before with John Cusack?
No, I haven't.
He plays.
Is that any good? Plays
Poe, the watch. Right? Yeah, it's worth the watch. Yeah, it's like Silence of the Lambs and Seven with Poe, where he's there's a killer out there trying to like, I believe he's like acting out some of the murders in his books that coincide with his books.
Oh, that's a clever idea.
It's pretty. He looks like him too. Cusack, you know what I mean? He plays a.
He's always good. He's always really good. Two other people that wanted to play Poe: Sylvester Stallone.
He looks like him a little bit too.
And Michael Jackson.
Oh.
Michael Jackson wanted to. I think both of them wanted to play Poe. I think, and Michael Jackson was trying to get a Poe movie going with. He wanted Tim Burton to direct it. Needless to say, that never got off the ground, since at the time he was more than just a little radioactive, shall we say. All right, folks, we're gonna wrap it up. Oh, Simon says Metropolis is one of the first sci-fi horror movies. Yeah, it has some horror elements. Certainly the robot Maria is very creepy. The scene where the robot Maria, rises is created by Wotang. Definitely Frankensteinian for sure. And who knows? Maybe we'll do a silent movie one of these days. I'll try to pick something that.
I want to do Frankenstein one day.
Oh, like the Universal movies. Well, I know, like.
Well, not that one. The silent film one.
Oh, you mean the Edison?
Yeah, I think so.
That's only like 15 minutes. And you know what's interesting? That's actually not a horror movie. They actually went out of their way to make it more like a fantasy.
Is that the one with,
make
the
it
long
as
hair,
unscary as possible?
Is that
That's the one where that's the one where the monster's created in an oven. And what they did was they created a model of the monster and they burned it and then ran the footage in reverse.
Oh,
so instead of disintegrating in the flames, it looks like he's integrating in the flames. Yeah. But yeah, we'll figure that out. Also, folks, in the comments, if you want to leave suggestions for movies for us to review, by all means. Doesn't have to be something that's on Tubi, but preferably something. Let's try and stick to the rule of just watching and doing films that we know aren't behind paywalls, because I don't want to talk about how great a movie is and then you go to watch it and then it's like, crap, it's like $5 on like Prime or something like that. You can always check it out easy. Charles is saying The Brood. Is that on Tubi? I don't know if there's any Cronenberg on Tubi. There's a lot of crap on Tubi.
Is Faust on Tubi? Vigil's Faust? I've never seen that.
I don't know. Let me see. That's a very interesting mess. No, it's not, evidently. There's some movie with DMX fighting an anaconda, a giant anaconda with a grenade launcher.
What?
What? All right, folks. We're gonna call it a night. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, and keep watching horror movies. And also links below for our comics, Six Gun Gorilla, and of course Butch Cleaver. Go back, Butch Cleaver Fools. It is it's a dope looking book. I can't wait to read it.
Back Six Gun Gorillas.
Right. Anything else to say before we cut out, Matt?
No, have a great week, guys, and I'll see you next week.
All right. Everybody, stay scared. And like Ringo always says, peace and love, peace and love. Bye-bye.